Benny, here in Texas, that means counting down to kickoff for the Cowboys. The team has a Sunday primetime showdown against the Steelers. And joining me now to preview that matchup, Landon McCool back with us with LockedOn Cowboys podcast. Hey, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Okay, a lot of headlines coming out of last week's game. They were centered on the Cowboys' defense. What do they need to do differently this week?
Survive, especially with the injuries that they sustained last week. They're going to have to kind of reconfigure some things to figure out how they're going to be playing defense. I mean, this is a defense that basically was centered around Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence and their ability to get pressure on the quarterback and stop the run. Without them, they're going to have to make some adjustments. I think that, they're going to focus more on stopping the run and trying to get the Steelers into, passing situations. But the question becomes, what do the Cowboys do once they get into those passing situations without Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence? Mike Zimmer's definitely going to have to earn his keep this week.
Now, there is a lot of pressure on Dak and the offense to perform. So what's been working well for them and what can they improve on?
Yeah, I mean, I think mostly it's just been the kind of thawing of the offense. It feels like the first few weeks was really just the preseason, and that there was a lack of kind of coordination, between the offensive line and the running backs, between the offensive line and themselves, between Dak and his receivers. And I feel like the last few weeks you've seen that thawing a little bit. You saw CD have a much better game this last week. I expect him to have a really nice game this week against a kind of inferior defensive back group. Really, that's the one area with the Steelers that you feel like you can attack potentially is their secondary, specifically their corners. So I do expect the Cowboys to try to run the ball, to try to continue to get that running game on track because they're going to need it. But I definitely expect a healthy dose of CeeDee Lamb, especially with Brandon Cooks out this week. I expect the CeeDee Lamb to get a lot of targets.
Okay, and you kind of touched on this a minute ago with folks being out or on the injury list. Every fan has got their eyes on Diggs and Zeke Elliott. They've been added to the report. What is the latest on the team?
According to Jerry Jones this morning on 105.3, he had a little radio hit. He mentioned that it sounds like Diggs mostly just gave them a scare yesterday and that he should be good to go to play for Sunday. I didn't hear an update on Zeke. It didn't sound too serious when things came down the other day. But I think this may be a wait and see situation for him. It may be even a game time decision.
Now the Steelers coming off a loss last week. I'd like to think they're going to be hungry. What can the coaching staff do to secure a win against them? They can get pretty scrappy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best defenses in football, certainly one of the best front sevens in all of football. I think that's, the best on best matchup of this game is going to be the Cowboys offense versus the Steelers defense. I think as the Cowboys kind of start, like I said, mentioned that thaw, they kind of get coordinated a little bit. We'll start to see a little bit more productive, a little bit more efficient offense, but it's going to be very difficult against a very uphill battle against probably the best defense. And like I said, definitely the best front seven in the league. But on the other side of the ball, there's going to be a lot of variance, right? Because of all the injuries, because of just kind of the unknown there. The Steelers have been very up and down on offense with Justin Fields as their quarterback. He's really shown a lot more than he did when he was with Chicago, but it's still been kind of up and down, and they have some injuries on the offensive line. So I think if the Cowboys can find a way to kind of keep it all in front of them, to play Justin Fields better than they did Lamar Jackson, hopefully, I think they can find a way to win this game, even though this is a very difficult game against a non-common opponent on the road. But I think it's going to take a really great coaching effort to kind of overcome some of the injuries and some of the scheme stuff they're going to have to do to produce a pass rush and points despite all their injuries.
I also feel like I need to see a meme now of the offense and some ice that's melting. So I've got that visual now in my mind. Okay, let's talk about your score prediction. I like hearing this one. What do you think?
I don't think it's going to be a super high-scoring game. Okay. I think the Cowboys win 24-21. I think it's going to be a real struggle maybe early on while that really vaunted Steelers defense comes after the Cowboys offense. But I think, like I mentioned, like that thaw I mentioned, hopefully the water's all dripped off, all the ice is gone, and Dallas and Dak and CD can kind of shake it all off and score some points at the end of the game to hopefully win it.
Okay, you need to go work on that meme right now. All right, you need to get to work on that. You need
will.
That's a good one.
I'll start the icing right now. Okay. I'll get it going.
Thank you. Good to see you. We'll see you next week. There are so many storylines in this classic Steelers-Cowboys matchup. So catch more in-depth preview and breakdown in a new episode of Locked On Cowboys today at 1 o'clock on WFAA+. You can get the app free on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV. Great insight. And still ahead on Midday, a shutdown at docks across the